Look, guys, I'm not trying to be negative here. I promise you, I'm really not trying to be negative here. But the warnings won't stop. Warnings that the crypto market on the whole is going to keep bleeding out. Bitcoin entering a bear market. XRP specifically warnings from multiple chart analysts, including ones that I follow pretty regularly, warning, XRP is actually going to go lower. And this is all happening on a day where the market's actually been green. And so I'm with most of you. I'm like, hey, let's just take a little, breathe here. Appreciate green days like we've had today. Because all sorts of stuff was up, and I know most stuff hasn't gone parabolic, but there have been some coins, like Zcash in particular, jumped a lot today. I think it's pulled back a bit as of the time that I'm recording this, but still, on the whole, been a pretty good day. And I will tell you this, I still absolutely am not convinced that we are entering a bear market, even if the analysts that say we're going to pull back end up being correct, fine. Even if XRP does go down to some degree, fine. It will take a lot more, as I will continue to highlight on my channel, it'll take a lot more to convince me that we're entering a bear market. Because the macro elements just don't line up for that. I'm just not convinced. And if I'm wrong, so be it. I'm a human, I can be wrong, but I'm just telling you the honest truth. I am not convinced that is the case. I understand there's going to be a bear market one day. I just frankly don't think that time is now. I really don't. So I'm going to run through some perspectives from analysts out there who are negative in terms of their leaning. They're saying, hey, things are looking a bit concerning out here. And some of that I'm going to push back on a technical basis, frankly. But I look, you guys are smart. You can make your own decisions out there. I just want to present you with a variety of viewpoints. And I'm happy to share what I think. I also will be sharing with you a lot of positive perspectives. I'm going to hold off most of that for later in the video. But it's still the case that almost 100% of the analysts that I've been following for a long time absolutely insist the best day XRP is $2.31. Bitcoin is at $102,363. And so, yeah, there's been some volatility today. You can look at the 24-hour chart for XRP here. I mean, it's kind of wild to see this. 24-hour low of $2.16, 24-hour high of $2.36. So that's a 20-cent swing, which is that's close to what XRP has been worth for most of the time that I've held it. So sometimes I look at that and was like, that's wild. And look, I do believe that, let enough time pass. In a single day, you'll see XRP trade over a range of a number of dollars, and that'll just be normal. Just like now it's normal to see XRP go by 20, 30, 40, 50 cents sometimes when it's more extreme. Now, not that happens all the time, but 20 cents even is becoming more commonplace here. But just like that's normal now, you're going to see a trade in a range of dollars in the future, I firmly believe. And the people that were trading it when it would range, by like half a penny back in 2013, 2014, 2015, I don't know how many of them would even believe that this is reality in 2025. I mean, because like the biggest pump it had back in the day, and like it might have been 2014, it went from like half a penny to 6 cents briefly, and then like right back down to like half a penny. And so that was very short-lived. But if they could have known that, if you fast forward, XRP actually it's a $3.65 all-time high in 2025, despite an SEC attack, and that's before the blow-off top of the market cycle that we're in. I think a lot of those holders would be like, feeling vindicated right now. And so a Bitcoin 24-hour high of $103,826, according to Live Coin Watch, 24-hour low of $99,587. Take a look at this post. This is from this morning. This is from on-chain analytics firm Swissblock. And they wrote here, and this is 8 a.m., selling pressure persists. The risk-off signal continues to rise, showing that even with Bitcoin holding above $100,000, we're not out of the woods yet. If selling intensity doesn't ease soon, further downside pressure could unfold in the short term. So a little bit of an exclamation point there coming from on-chain analytics firm Swissblock. Then there's also this from the blockchain backer. You've got the crypto total market cap, excluding the top 10 coins. So that's just altcoins, right? And you can see on the right is where we are right now. And with XRP, and then the chart on the left is the crypto total market cap, so just altcoins. And so even though these are not the same charts of the same asset or assets, the formation that's played out here is the reason that he's comparing them. And so he wrote, On the left, a historical example of a relief rally after sweeping the highs and then breaking down from the post-liquidation range. On the right, XRP's current price behavior. Just keep an eye on it, okay? Okay, and look, fair enough to point this out. So he's not promising that XRP is going to crater down, but he's seen these chart formations before. And clearly he's kind of hinting, at a minimum, I think it's fair to say he's hinting that there's a reasonable possibility that, so there's a relief rally here, but it could absolutely play out to the downside, which is what happened on this chart with others. That's what this chart is on the left here. It's the others chart. And we'll see if that happens. I mean, like, honestly, you'll see, I've got a couple other examples coming up here. There are other XRP analysts who absolutely do think that you're going to see something like that play out. And it's not just like one or two analysts. I'll highlight a few in this video, but there are actually a lot of analysts I follow that think, yeah, XRP is actually going to go a fair bit lower. Now the good news is, and I don't know for sure if the blockchain backer still thinks it's more probable XRP moves to the upside this cycle. I don't know that I've seen everything that he's said very recently. I do know that he's leaning more bearish. He's made that very clear. But the other analysts that are charting XRP that I follow, even the ones that are saying, yeah, it's going to go down probably, they still believe that it's going to rocket higher, hit yet another new all-time high and enter face melting price discovery. So take it for what it's worth. Excuse me. And then here's another one from the blockchain backer. This is the total 3 chart on the left and the right, just over different time periods. The one on the left is where we are right now. So these charts are the crypto total market cap excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, so altcoins. And then he said here, obvious dynamic occurring is that the majority of today's price action is taking place outside of the top 20, with total altcoin market caps minimally impacted. Not sure to be excited or terrified of that. Market caps say caution. And so clearly the blockchain backers a bit more on the concern side, and he's been articulating for, I guess, over a month. How long has it been? I don't know if it's been 6 weeks. Some pretty notable concerns and more of a bearish sentiment. But, you know, even though that's a minority perspective out of the analysts that I follow, at least a lot of it is, he has held minority opinions before and been correct. So I think it's worth listening to. And again, you guys are smart people. I respect your intelligence, so I'm just going to lay this stuff out here, and then I do a positive stuff in the video too. You come to your own conclusion. Just like I'm doing. I'm just a regular dude. I'm not a finance guy. But this is what you have to do in life if you're a human. You're not going to be an expert in most things. So what you do if you're smart is you hear opposing viewpoints, and then you come to your own conclusion about which argument is more persuasive. And for me, the arguments that are more persuasive are the arguments indicating that the bull market's not over, even if we move to the downside. And nobody can know for sure, but that's where my conviction lies. And you guys are smart enough to come to your own reasonable conclusions. And, you know, somebody's going to be right about this and somebody's going to be wrong about this, and we're going to find out together. But I still believe number go up ultimately. And even if we enter a bear market, which I don't think is probable, let enough time pass, even if it's years, the markets recover, folks. There's so much opportunity to be had. I'm not going to be crying over it, even if that's the case. Here's a post from chart analyst Ali Martinez. This is Bitcoin here. He says, Bitcoin threatens to breach this crucial support trend line that is held since November 2022. Okay, fair enough warning. If Bitcoin does crater down even further, of course, XRP and everything else under the sun is going to come cratering down with it. And if that's the case, okay, that's the case. So he's more on the bearish side here, and he is for XRP too. Ali Martinez here, again, same analyst, XRP chart now. He says, $1.90 to $2 looks like a magnet for XRP. And so he's pointing down. And so, yeah, we've had what the blockchain backer is saying looks like a relief rally. He's saying XRP, he's not even saying it's going to go down. He's saying just keep an eye on it, warning that, of course, it might. I think it's pretty clear he's hinting that. Here you have Ali Martinez. He seems to be arguing roughly the same thing, doesn't he? He's not the only one. Here's a post from chart analyst Casey Trades. This is another analyst. And by the way, all this is from today. In fact, this one was from just a few hours ago. This is 8:33 p.m. So just about 3.5 hours ago, Ali Martinez posted that. Then you had this from the morning. This is from Casey Trades. It says, still expecting $2.05 support. You can see the room on the relative strength index. These small bounces are setting up the bullish divergence with the final touch. So she's also thinking XRP, yeah, it's going to go down. And her conviction seems to be high on that. So that's in line with what I'm seeing from tons of, and these are just a few examples. There are tons more analysts that are saying pretty similar things here. Not all of them are. I mean, it's less than half of the analysts I follow, but again, it's noticeable to me when I go scroll through my feed and I see a bunch of this type of things being articulated. I'm like, huh, that's fascinating. I don't see that most days. It jumps out at me, so I just want to share it with you. But even if that's the case, I know that she's still absolutely expecting XRP to rampage to the upside. So even if you go down, she's saying, yeah, that's exactly what you would want in terms of chart structure to play out before it ultimately does rocket to the upside. I got a bone to pick with this one. This is from Coin Bureau. They write, warning sign flashing. And this is just from this morning. Crypto Quant's Bull Score Index just fell to 0 for the first time since January 2022. Oh, well, shiver me timbers. That sounds scary. Then they write, the last time this happened, right before the previous bear market began. Okay, so you got to talk about this. What Coin Bureau is pointing out is that Crypto Quant's Bull Score Index, again, like they said, just dropped to 0, and that's rare. That's true. And you can see where, if you're looking at the screen where I'm moving my mouse, this is what they're talking about. So that's now, and this is the past, January 2022, Bull Score of 0. Okay, so the Bull Score is essentially a composite indicator that measures how many on-chain and market conditions are favoring a bullish continuation. And so a reading of 60 or above, that would signal strong bullish conditions. 40 or below signals bearish conditions. Now 0, which is where we find ourselves, 0 means none of the tracked metrics are supportive at the moment. So the last time the Bull Score hit 0 was January 2022, where I just pointed a second ago. That's just before Bitcoin rolled into a long bear market. So that's where they're like, warning. And that's why it's being framed the way it is by Coin Bureau. It's because, historically, when the Bull Score collapses like this, it is true, like the momentum itself, it's already stalled, and in broader market weakness, it tends to fall, right? So that part's fair, right? However, this is where I got a bone to pick, context matters. In 2022, macro conditions were terrible. The Fed was tightening, liquidity was draining. Obviously, I mean, you were there, right? Recession fears. And today, despite short-term weakness, macro data flatly stated, it's just not the same. It just isn't. Okay. Liquidity indicators point upward. Raoul Pal talks about that all the damn time. The business cycle metrics obviously improving, and the business cycle, it's not, if you look from a historical perspective, I've been highlighting a lot recently, the business cycle metric, it's nowhere even close to where it's been at the peaks of previous cycles. And the broader trend, it still leans bullish. So yes, it's a valid caution signal. Fine. I'll give them that. It tells us enthusiasm, momentum. Yeah, dried up right now. Fine. But it does not automatically mean a new bear market is locked in. It just doesn't mean that. Including from a historical perspective, it simply means, Bitcoin has entered a period of exhaustion. And that's similar to other mid-cycle slowdowns. We've actually seen that before. And so if anything, it may suggest a consolidation phase before the next expansion. And unless macro trends meaningfully reverse, in which case, yeah, we'll have a come to Jesus moment. You and I will have a talk right here on the Moon Lambo channel, the best channel on all of the YouTubes, as a side note. But also, look, there have been several instances where the Bull Score Index, it hit extremely low readings, including 0, by the way, or near 0. And the market did not enter a bear market afterward. How come Coin Bureau didn't mention that? In fact, in multiple cases, Bitcoin rallied much higher afterward. So they shared this post and it scared a bunch of people, but this metric is not the holy grail of metrics, okay? Context is important. And look, it should really, in my mind, it should only be used as a supplementary signal to deeper market analysis. That's my opinion. My humble opinion. But no, look, there have been plenty of times, just want to reiterate, plenty of times where we've been at or near 0, and it did not mean we were entering a bear market. So just because the last time we got to 0, yeah, we were in the bear market, does not mean that it absolutely has to play out that way, but they didn't say that. They got this and it got their clicks and it was seen 234,000 times. I'm glad I have a YouTube channel so I can add a bit of additional context that Coin Bureau was not interested in sharing for some reason. Here's a post from an analyst I have never heard of. Not that that means anything necessarily. I'm just noting that. It goes by the name Greeny. And just 7 hours ago wrote, seeing a mini altcoin season after Bitcoin continues to show weakness is a clear cycle top indicator. Happened in 2017. Happened in 2021. Tell me it isn't happening again in 2025. And then share this screen grab where all sorts of altcoins had moved up a fair bit in price. And Charting Guy's not buying that. He reposted that and he said, every single bear is saying this today. Yet every single one of them is ignoring the structural weakness in Bitcoin dominance and how it's about to fall off a cliff. That means today wasn't an anomaly or cycle-ending pop. It was just a taste of what's to come. Okay, I find that argument more compelling. We haven't even had a proper alt season yet, but the human nature no longer exists. They don't want to take profit from Bitcoin and roll it into altcoins and maximize profit. The humans just no longer have that inclination to do so. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't find that remotely probable. Okay. So Bitcoin dominance, and he's right. That is absolutely different. Because as the other cycles ended, 2017 and 2021, even if there were individual coins popping off on specific days, if you're talking at the end, what do you think was going on with Bitcoin dominance? It had already cratered then if you're talking about the tail end. And then once alts ultimately cratered, Bitcoin dominance after it had dramatically cratered, fell off a cliff, then it started climbing again. That part is not the same. That is not the same. I don't know who this Greeny guy is, but what about the rest of the stuff that you should consider? We're just not going to consider that? Why not? Here's another post from Charting Guy. This is an others dominance chart. Others, again, of course, is the top 125 coins by market cap, excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. And so that's what this chart is, but it's showing the dominance of others out of the market, which at the time he posted this was 7.4%. So pretty low percentage. And he posted this just this evening, 5:38 p.m. Central Time. And he said, others dominance doesn't look like it's starting a bear market. Quite the opposite. So you can see what he's highlighting down here. He thinks it looks like it's forming a nice strong base to ultimately launch from in the charts. And so there's that. And then there's historical context. You can see why Charting Guy has the perspective he has. And he's not the only one. I came across this post from chart analyst Matthew Hyland. He's absolutely saying the same thing about Bitcoin dominance. Look at this. So this is a market cap Bitcoin dominance percentage chart. And here's what Matthew Hyland had to say. He said, the reason why you should have confidence in the altcoin price action is because the Bitcoin dominance chart looks bearish and has looked bearish for many weeks. The downtrend is favorable to continue. Therefore, this relief rally has been a dead cat bounce in a downtrend. And so this would be great. You do want the price of Bitcoin to go up, even if you don't hold it. But you want dominance to go down, even if that's happening. And that historically, that is what happens. Bitcoin dominance goes down, even if price goes up, and then altcoins take off. That's the historic norm. We're still waiting for that to happen. And I think given that human nature obviously has not changed, that's just one of many reasons that I find it a bit preposterous, this idea that we're entering a bear market right now. I need more evidence. If we do enter a bear market from here, fine. I'm just saying right now, it is way too early to believe that. And that's why I don't. I've taken in the information. I want to believe whatever is true here. I don't just have this bias and I'm just going to keep insisting that's not how I am. I want to believe as many true things as possible in life. And so I genuinely, when presented with the data I've been presented with, I don't find the bear case to be compelling. You can find various metrics which are bearish and look bearish, and I'll absolutely acknowledge that. You could go to a bunch of reputable chart guys. But then the problem is there, a lot of times even if you're going to a reputable chart guy, they'll cite various metrics, and some of them are clearly cherry-picked. But then are they even looking at macro? You can't tell me macro doesn't matter. I can't take you seriously if you're going to tell me macro doesn't matter. It absolutely 100% does. Here's a post from Crypto Amsterdam. So talking about Zcash, and I mentioned this in my very last video. And I'm just highlighting this because even if you don't hold Zcash, totally fine. I happen to. I've been holding it for a very long time. But this should instill confidence. Like, this is the type of thing that can happen. Look at this. Zcash, price wise, it's been in the toilet for like the better part of a decade. It really has. Look at this freaking chart. So somebody named Crypto Amsterdam wrote, Zcash erased almost 8 years of downside in just 6 weeks, up 4,000%. Still the greatest market there is. And so think about that. You can be down that long, and then suddenly the percentage gains are such that if you're well positioned, you're now filthy stinking rich. This is the type of stuff that happens in crypto. This is why I keep saying timing markets is for idiot sticks. Foolish people time markets. Smart people, they get broad exposure, and then they hold however long it takes, even if it's years longer than what they prefer. They're adults about it. They just hold, even if it's a decade, they just hold, and then they get their life-changing wealth. Because they cannot, these people, none of us can control when the market pops. So you either have exposure when it happens, inevitably, or you don't. And it doesn't mean every single coin's going to pop. I think a bunch of stuff is ultimately going to zero. But that's why it makes sense to focus on utility coins and just recognize that you're super early in crypto. Even if you're new in 2025, you are early. The market cap for this asset class is, what is it now? Was it 3.36 trillion? That's a little tiny baby asset class right there. I mean, all stocks, like the stock market in the United States, I don't know what the current number is, but some time ago I looked it up and I think it was like 60 trillion. And then if you look at all stocks on the planet, I think it's some like 150 or 160 trillion. And so don't quote me on that. The point is it's big numbers. If you want the exact numbers, just go do an internet search, but it's something like that. And so to know that like all stocks are worth 150, 160 trillion, whatever the number is, and the crypto asset class is worth a little over 3 trillion. Do you see how early you are? That's why I'm saying you may have to hold a little bit longer than you like, but the people that hold, like, they're doing pretty well, right? As long as you have broad exposure. Here's a post from chart analyst Mikey Bull Crypto. He says, one of the crypto assets that will follow Zcash is XRP, $8 to $10 conservative price target. So he's actually upped his targets. My recollection anyway is that it was a little bit lower than that. He might have been thinking that we'd peak closer to 8. Now he's saying 8 to 10 conservatively. Interesting. But yeah, that'd be fine. So he clearly doesn't believe that, even with what we've seen, the fantastic price action that we've seen in 2025, which really has just made the year for me, honestly. I've just been thrilled to see the total vindication. It proves that XRP is alive. And then on top of that, all the developments, the strongest fundamentals for XRP in history, XRP just oozing utility here. And he's saying that even with all of that, it's not done. XRP is not done, and it is going to rampage much higher. Here's a post from X-Force Global. He says, all coins that will not only survive, but will make new highs for this cycle. XRP, Ethereum, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. And so it's fascinating. So he put XRP first. He's been an XRP bull for a long time. And he's been right about XRP, certainly to this point. He also thinks it's not done. And it just goes to show that the quote unquote dino coins, which is used as a pejorative usually, that's what these are. He's saying, yeah, they're all going to go. All of them, even Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, which let's just say few people in the crypto space are passionate about. I think that's fair to say. But even them, still going to go. And I'm telling you, once a chart gets going, I mean, liquidity begets liquidity, excitement begets excitement. And a green candle is a green candle, my friends. Once it starts going, people are not going to care. When the mania hits, people feel FOMO and they just jump in. And by the way, I hold all of those coins and I have for a very long time. In fact, Ethereum's the first coin I bought. Litecoin's the second coin I ever bought. And then I got Bitcoin Cash. I don't remember exactly when, but I've been holding that for almost the entire time I've been in crypto. Like, I just see what I do. I just hold stuff. And it doesn't mean I have to have conviction in every single thing. It's about having broad exposure. It's the same concept same rationale anyway, as to why it makes sense to buy an ETF that tracks the S&P 500. You get broad exposure. You don't have to pick the winner. You just pick a bunch of stuff and rising tide lifts all boats, that type of concept. That's why. And that's also why I've leaned towards coins that are large cap and also mid cap. There's so little money in the space right now that even investing in large cap coins, it still presents the opportunity for life-changing wealth. And that's why I've done that. That's why I went so heavy in XRP, even though it's always been a large cap coin for its entire existence. It's been in the top 10 coins by market cap. Now, eventually, let enough time pass, you're not going to be able to get life-changing wealth investing in XRP and other large caps because there's going to be too much money in them in the future. We are not even close to that, though. There is not that much money in crypto, broadly speaking, and certainly not in XRP. And that's a good thing. That means the opportunity's there. Here's a post from chart analyst Ether National. He says, the table is clear in XRP. XRP is still in a clear reaccumulation phase between the $3.30 major resistance and the $1.99 support. Unless the structure is broken, the silence will trigger a new leg. And so that's not a bearish post, obviously, but he is referencing the lower end of that range, which is where some analysts that I follow are warning it's possible XRP goes, which is totally fair to note. But he believes that we're going to ultimately rocket higher. You can see where the arrow is pointing up. It's closer to $10. He thinks this is going to go way higher before we finally enter a bear market. And I can't help but agree. I think that makes logical sense. And again, I understand we may go lower first. We could see a next deal. Maybe it's a few weeks that's rough. Maybe it's over a month. I don't know. But I just don't believe, for so many reasons, I just don't believe that now is the time when we're entering a bear market. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I doubt it at this point. You guys tell me what you think. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea.